All right, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this week's Small Biz Essential webinar. Today, we're talking about the importance of social media platforms, how to create results-based content, and action steps you can take to implement today. First things first, my name is Sierra Ladroma. I serve as a project manager for the Iowa Center's Women's Business Center. The Iowa Center's Women's Business Center is funded in part through a cooperative agreement with the U.S. Small Business Administration. You will all receive an email after this event from my colleague, Ben Schultz, thanking you for attending today's session, ways to connect to our speaker, as well as a form to complete. Please do us a big favor and take some time to fill this form out. This information allows us to continue providing free educational programming for small business owners in Iowa. Now go ahead, please take some time to locate the chat function on your Zoom screens so you can join the conversation by asking questions or adding comments. Today's featured guest is Drew Harden. Drew is the president and co-founder of Blue Compass. Drew has grown and guided the company from a two-person startup in 2007 to one of the leading digital marketing companies in the Midwest. Drew is a published author. He speaks at marketing conferences around the country, has been cited by publications like USA Today, and has led web projects for clients like Spalding Sports Equipment, Napa Auto Parts, and the NFL. Drew, thank you so much for spending your time with us today. The screen is yours.
Thank you very much, Sierra. I appreciate it. All right. So a few years ago, I was sitting at home on a Saturday and I got a text message from my business partner. And he and his family had gone to visit his brother's family. And both families were out in the backyard playing around. And there was a pond that was located not too far away. And his kids looked down and saw a baby goose swimming around in this pond. And it looked like the goose was stuck on something, maybe trash or string, and it was being pulled under the water. And so the kids pleaded with him, Carrie, will you go down there? So being the very brave and diligent father that Carrie is, he went into the house, he got some swimming trunks on, and he made his way down to the pond. And armed with a rainbow unicorn floaty, he made his way over to the baby goose. And when he got there, he saw that it wasn't just trash or something pulling down the goose. There was literally a snapping turtle with his mouth around the baby goose's foot. And so he was a little taken back at first, a little scared, but he grabbed onto the goose. He pulled it over to the side of the pond and his brother came down. They were able to dislodge the foot and the goose went on its way. So I'm watching this video that his wife took and laughing. This is a little unusual. Carrie took that video and he posted it on his Twitter. And he started getting quite a few likes, a lot of comments, a lot of engagement on that right away. So many that a local news station wrote an article about it the next day. And I think this might be the greatest headline you've ever seen: Goose rescued from snapping turtle by local man on unicorn. I thought that was pretty great. So not only that, they did a news story about it as well. And it was on the local news. And it wasn't just the local news though. A couple days later, there were some media outlets around the country that got wind of it and they started running stories on it as well. And not only that, media outlets around the entire world started covering this crazy guy on this rainbow unicorn that goes around and saves geese from snapping turtles. It was on Good Morning America, it was on ABC News, it was on Yahoo News. I mean, literally millions of people just within the course of a week saw this crazy story. And I did a Google search just recently here for Goose Save. And I mean, this has some great search engine optimization as well. It's the first video result. And so all this from just one crazy tweet that Carrie made. And he didn't put any budget behind it. He didn't have any marketing plan. He didn't have any strategy. And yet he got all this incredible traction. And I feel like sometimes as a business owner, entrepreneurs, we try to reach out to our audience on social media, and it just feels like you're treading water sometimes. Sometimes it feels like you don't have that traction. And no matter how much you do, no matter how great your content is, you're just not making a big difference. So I think social media marketing can be really frustrating. And so I hope to share some good insights with you today to help make this a little easier for you and help you get a little more traction. As Sierra shared, I mean, I'm a small business owner as well. We started out, like she said, with just 2 people, and we've grown over the years, and we've been really blessed, but it's a difficult journey. And so making some traction via social media can make that a lot easier for your brand. But it is difficult. So as I go throughout this presentation today, like she said, please feel free to add some comments, some questions throughout. I think that makes it more interesting for everyone, and I will answer those at the end. And I'll be sharing a few resources throughout this as well. So if you would like to check those out, I might go kind of quickly through them. So if you just go to bluecompass.com/social, we have a list of resources there. We even have a cool little resource that's called the Blueprint for a Perfect Facebook Post, to give you a little guidance on how you can make more traction on Facebook. So I hope that's helpful to you. That being said, let's dive in, and we're going to talk about today 5 social media unicorns that you should do and 5 social media snapping turtles that you should avoid. And so our first unicorn here, do use social media for awareness. Now, we are asked very frequently to talk on the subject of social media. I mean, many different types of businesses and organizations are interested in this topic. And it's not uncommon for people to tell us, hey, talk to this group about how to get sales on social media. And that's ultimately what we all want. I mean, we want those conversions. We want people to buy from us, whether it's a product or service. But the bad news with social media is it's not great for getting you sales. And I mean, that sounds really negative, but it's true. So social media does have its place, but it's not necessarily for getting you sales. So if we look at a target here, sales, you can get sales directly through social media, but for most of our organizations, I mean, that's very difficult. Social media, it generally isn't fantastic at it. When it comes to getting leads, social media is a little bit better at that. Becoming aware of people or organizations that might want to do business with you. When we get down to connections, social media is certainly better at that still. Getting followers, getting people to watch your brand. But what social media is best at is simply awareness. So this is really the top of the marketing funnel. So the big takeaway here is when you think about marketing your organization with social media, think about the top of that marketing funnel. Social media is for awareness. And the reason is the intent people have when they come to social media. If someone is looking for you through Google, they have a much different intent. If they're searching for your product or your service, I mean, they're literally looking to satisfy a query. But when someone is on social media, they're generally looking to have fun, looking to connect with their friends, looking for some interesting content. They're generally not looking to complete a purchase or a sale or a transaction of some sort. So social media is great for awareness. And as small organizations and businesses, we all need people to become aware of our brand, and that's what social media is for. All right. The first don't is don't focus on too many social platforms. And this is a common question that we get here at Blue Compass. What social media platforms should my business be on? And especially when social media first started, I mean, everyone was really interested in jumping on board every social platform there could be. And as you might imagine, that's not always our suggestion. So a few years ago, we were contacted by a burger restaurant here in Des Moines. It was a new startup, and they had me come in and talk to them about a website and some digital marketing. And I went in, and this guy who owned it was so passionate. It was awesome. It was really infectious. And he took me over and he showed me 2 $30,000 steam ovens that they use to cook the burgers perfectly every time. He showed me the ice cream bar that they had, where they're bringing in ice cream from Wisconsin, which isn't available anywhere else in Iowa. He showed me the credit card machines that all the people who were working there had on their belts so that they didn't have to take the credit card to the back and they could save steps. He showed me the movie nights that they were going to have every night. Tuesday night was going to be Michael Jackson night, and he was going to have Michael Jackson music videos. I mean, he was all over the place, and it was really cool because he had so much passion, but he didn't focus on one thing. There were so many things he was focusing on. And, ultimately we didn't end up working with them, unfortunately, but you can bet that when this place opened, I was like one of the first in line because I had heard these amazing things about the restaurant. And it was good, but unfortunately they closed about 6 months later. So I think sometimes we as entrepreneurs and business owners are guilty of the same thing. I mean, there's so many different platforms and marketing techniques that we can focus on that it just becomes overwhelming. And sometimes we just want to try a little bit of everything. So I just want to encourage you, we see our clients having the most success when they pick 1 or 2 social media platforms and they put all their resources into that and they do their best work instead of trying to cover everything. We work with a couple of really big corporations that are on like every social media platform, and they have the resources to do so, and that's fine. But choose 1 or 2 social platforms that you're really good at and that you're passionate about. And maybe it's more than that, and maybe it's less than that, but don't worry about trying to cover every platform. Try to select the ones that you see your target audience on. All right. The next unicorn is do post compelling content that's focused on your audience. So I don't know if you're an Instagram user, and I am, and Instagram does a pretty good job of targeting ads to you. And so there's quite a few ads on Instagram, and you'll see those ad posts, and sometimes I'm really surprised how effective they are and how good they are and how interested I really am in that content. But the other day, as I scrolled through, there was an ad for this shirt that was pushed towards me. I did not buy this shirt. I'm not quite sure why they thought I would be interested in this shirt, but I thought it looked pretty funny. This was not an example of great content. This is not something I would ever wear or buy. So we all have to do a better job when it comes to presenting information and content to our audience. Really important. And so one of the things we really emphasize here at Blue Compass is the concept of content marketing. Content marketing is very different than advertising. And basically, content marketing, we say, is sharing something free and valuable to get your audience's awareness and trust. Again, very different from advertising. Advertising says, look at me, we are the best, our product or our service is the best. And content marketing simply gives something away to your audience. This is a great way to provide them with value, to get them to associate positively with your brand, to build awareness. And we believe that pretty much every brand should be involved in some form of content marketing. I wrote a book about this topic. We talk about this all the time because I've just seen it work so well for clients of all sizes. And so here's an example of a post by a bank. And basically this post on Facebook said, hey, download our mobile app. It's really great. That's more of an advertising social post. On the flip side, here's a post by US Bank. And they basically say here, it's a big deal to get married. And here are some insights into how you can consolidate and combine your finances after marriage, because that can be a difficult process. So one of them said, we're the best, our app is the best. And the other one said, hey, here's some free expertise that we have. And so one of the reasons that this content marketing approach can be so good for you is that the best way to prove your organization's expertise isn't just to claim it, but it's to show it. And content marketing allows you to do that. So I really encourage you, don't just post about how great your product or service is. Give away your expertise. Focus on your industry, focus on your audience, and share something of value that people are actually going to enjoy, get insights from. And that's where social media really, really shines. So at least 80% of your content, we believe, should be content marketing, should be giving away your insights. Here's a few other examples to get your brain working here. This is Compass Financial Services, and this is something I noticed them doing, which I thought was kind of nice. But on Fridays, they'll do this Financial Fact Friday, and they just will do social posts, and they every week give away a little expertise. They give something insightful and valuable that you can check out. They don't brag about themselves. They just give something valuable away. And so obviously the hope here is that someone will see that, they'll associate that expertise with Compass Financial. Maybe they'll follow them on social media. Hopefully they'll click through from the social post and go to their website. That's the best case scenario. and check them out. Here's another post that's by Logier Heating and Cooling, and they do a lot of content marketing. So this is a blog article that they put up, and it's just 15 home maintenance tips as we enter spring. And if you go to the blog article, you can read these tips. They're really insightful. They have some photos. Sometimes they'll include videos as well. And then, I mean, there's a really soft sell in there at the bottom or throughout. You know, they'll say, hey, if we can help you with this, let us know. And then they'll link to their contact page. So it's just a really great way to give away some of that expertise. This is a post by some banks organization in Colorado. And we thought this was a really good approach. What they'll do is they will regularly create just brief little videos, and they will highlight some of their clients and how great their businesses are and the good things that they do for their community. And what a great way to spread a little good news, but also to highlight someone that chooses to work with them. And you can obviously believe that when this goes out, that business is not only going to share it, but they're going to comment on it, and probably friends and family are going to see it as well. So it's a great way to get, you know, your clients or customers immediately on board and sharing that content because it features them. This is a post that we put up, and Mallory Cates, who's one of our digital marketing specialists here, was featured in an article for her expertise. And so instead of just sharing that article, you know, instead of just posting the link that was for the website that was in Facebook, we did paste the link, but when we replaced the image itself, which was like a stock photo, with an image of Mallory. And so this is a great way for us to highlight our team members here and give them a great shout out. So of course, Mallory's friends and family are liking this post. And then just get people aware of the expertise we have here at Blue Compass as well. So if you can do anything to highlight any team members that you might have, that's always a good thing as well. We did a blue potluck here at Blue Compass. So we decided to have a potluck. This was a couple of years ago, and we just had everyone here have to bring a food that is blue or had blue in the name. People thought that sounded pretty gross at first, but eventually it kind of caught on and we had a good time doing it. So we actually filmed a little bit of a video of all the food, and then we put this on our social media. So this is another example of a post that might be good for you. I mean, if you're doing anything fun, if you're going and serving at a nonprofit or anything like that that has to do with your culture, that shows some great personality. And we find that on social media that generally culture posts like this do really well. And then speaking of which, this is one I posted. This is how you can really, really cheat on your social media platform. But if you post photos of like a cute dog or cat or baby, I mean, it's like free likes. So don't abuse that privilege and do nothing but post about dogs, but it seems to work really well. And we have a dog friendly office and we have dogs in here all the time. So occasionally I'll do the puppy post that does really, really well. But honestly, again, this is something that shows a little personality to your audience. Again, social media is all about getting awareness, and, you know, people really like to do business with organizations that they like, that are friendly, that are positive. And so things like this are really a good way to associate that positivity with your organization. Sometimes we're asked about what type of photos to post. And so this is an example of an A/B study that we did here. And so we have two photos and we tested these in Facebook in a few different posts. Basically, we did an A/B test where 50% of viewers would see one image, 50% would see the other, and everything else about the post was identical. And so which of these photos do you think got more clicks? One on the left or the one on the right? The one on the right got more clicks. And sometimes that surprises people because the one on the left looks a little more attractive and professional. But the reason is we all know what type of photo that photo on the left is. It's a stock photo. And stock photos are inauthentic. Whenever you see a stock photo, you know it's a stock photo, whether it's on a billboard or on a website or whatever it is. Stock photos aren't authentic. They might look really nice, but it's not a real photo. And so we encourage you, use real photos on your social posts, also on your website if you're able to do so. We almost never use stock photos. Occasionally we do, sometimes you need to, But even if it's not quite as attractive, a real, authentic photo is better because it shows your personality. People know that it's real. And we simply see more clicks on social media when the image is real, even if it doesn't look quite as attractive. And then here's some stats for you. Now, this is from Facebook. This is actually from a really big brand. And we see 5 different posts here. And the first 3 posts are links. So this is when you copy a URL, a website address, and you paste it into Facebook. And you can see the number of impressions. In other words, the number of people that saw that post in their feed. So the first one has 11,000, next one has 19,000, the next one has 22,000. The next 2 posts had a video directly uploaded. And the first one had 92,000 and that next one had over 1 million. And so we see this fairly frequently and pretty common amongst just about any social post, and not just on Facebook. But when you upload a video directly, more people will see it than if you put a link or if you put a photo in there. And the reason is, especially with Facebook, Facebook loves it when you spend time in their platform, and videos cause people to spend more time. Facebook does not want your viewers going to YouTube. They want you to stay on Facebook. And so if you can directly upload a video, you'll get more views than if you just type text, if you do a link, or if you upload a photo. So when possible, we encourage you to do so. And I'll talk more about that later, but if you have questions, more questions about a video, just type those in the chat, please. All right, so I think bottom line when it comes to posting content on your social media, just remember to keep your content centered on your industry, your audience, and your location. Some of us, the location might not be as applicable, maybe the entire country or world is applicable, but most of us, location is really important. So keep it focused on your industry, audience, location. So let's imagine you have a dog grooming business. An example of good content would be writing a blog article about how to manage a bath with a really young, energetic puppy without making a huge mess, and then posting that on your social media. Your target audience here in Des Moines would probably be pretty interested in that. Another good example would be to do a video about dog shampoo reviews. A really good example of content would be to do reviews of dog parks in Des Moines, do like the top 10 dog parks. That's great because you're focusing on your target audience and in your location as well, right in your geographic location. And that's something that could actually do really well in Google. People might search for that in Google. A bad example of content would be if you did a video or a post about the history of April Fool's Day. That might be interesting, and maybe that's a topic that you are passionate about, but it really doesn't have anything to do with your brand of dog grooming. And that's going to confuse your audience and not be very relevant. So try not, especially at first, to stray too far away from your industry, from your audience, and your location. All right, the next snapping turtle is don't rely on spontaneity when posting content. So this is a post a couple years ago I did. It was really snowy outside, and a couple of our team members went out and they were doing snow angels. And so I was like, this is a great culture post. So I just took a picture and I put it on my Twitter account, I think it was. And I got kind of lucky that day, and someone from ABC News saw it and they contacted me about it. That's a rare occurrence, unfortunately. That was a spontaneous post, but it was a rare occurrence. So we really encourage you, when it comes to your content on social media, take the time to put together a content calendar and plan on a monthly basis. So this is kind of an example of what we do here, but you can see a calendar here, and we schedule out all of our posts that we do, both for our clients and for ourselves. And so we know what type of content is going out on social media, what subjects, what links we're pushing, and when. And this helps us stay really organized, because if you decide to rely on spontaneity, your day is going to get really busy and it's going to be difficult. So if at the beginning of a month, you could sit down and just come up with some sort of a content calendar for when you'll post and generally what you'll post it can be very advantageous. You can see a link here in a spreadsheet where we actually have Twitter posts all lined out and planned ahead of time. And so we'll do that as well. And different things might work better for your organization, but the point here is we encourage you, plan this stuff ahead of time, because we all get so incredibly busy. It's really difficult to do it in the moment sometimes. And this isn't to say you shouldn't be spontaneous on your social media. Sometimes we all need to post something that's relevant to a news story that affects our industry or that's really interesting in the last minute. Don't hesitate to do that stuff. But if you only rely on that, sometimes your accounts will lack posts. Another great question that we get a lot is, how often should I post? And of course, that depends a bit on the social media, but generally we say post at least a couple times a week. I think your account should probably be posted at least a couple times a week. And if you can do more than that, that's really fantastic. It's very positive for your audience to be able to hear from you and see that stability. So these are a few different options if you're looking for content calendar tools. Of course, you can just schedule these out in Outlook or Google Calendar. At that link that I shared, there's a link to HubSpot's Content Calendar Excel. So they have an Excel file you can download, and you can use that template to schedule different things out. And then Trello, Loomly, StoryChief are just tools that you can get in and actually plan out a little more specifically. So these might be helpful to you. All right, so the next unicorn is do make your posts conversation worthy. All right, so about 3 years ago, Facebook made a big change. And I don't know if you remember this, maybe it impacted you, maybe not. But this is a post here from Mark Zuckerberg. And basically what he says in this post is, hey, we are going to start favoring people's posts and conversations more than businesses or news organizations. So what they did at Facebook was demote businesses and news organizations in their algorithm. In other words, it became harder for organizations and for news outlets to get their posts seen by people. And this immediately started impacting a lot of businesses. And right away, about a month later, there was a digital publisher called Little Things that actually had to close their doors because they relied so much on Facebook. And so people started saying, like, is Facebook toast? Is Facebook going the way of the dinosaurs because they are focusing so much on people and so little on businesses? Now, of course, Facebook said this is because people are happiest when they're connecting with each other, and they really gave this a positive spin. And the cynical people and marketers thought, they're just making it harder for businesses to get through so that businesses will pay more to be able to get through the clutter. And maybe there's truth to both, I don't know. But a lot of clients around this time started asking us, is Facebook going to go away? Should we pull back our efforts? And we did a social media study of Iowans, and we had never found there to be a social media study of Iowans before. There were a lot of studies nationally. So we surveyed thousands of Iowans, and you can see the results here. Basically, they tell you that Iowans love Facebook. Whether they're young or they're old, Iowans love Facebook. And yes, even younger people use Facebook the most in Iowa, even more so than the national average. So if your brand's on Facebook, it's probably pretty important for them, for you to be there. It's not a bad place to be. If you want to see more of this study, just check out bluecompass.com/social study, especially if you're focused on Iowans, this might be handy for you. So when it comes to Facebook, these are a few things that Facebook's algorithm favors. And if you can do these, your posts will be seen by more people. Because most of your posts on Facebook are probably only seen by 1, 2, 3, 4% of your followers. It depends on how active your followers are, but it's just really a misnomer that every follower sees your posts. It's generally a lot smaller than that. So the first thing that Facebook favors are posts shared over Messenger. So in other words, if someone sees your Facebook post and they really like it, and they copy it and they send it via Facebook Messenger to one of their friends, Facebook watches that and Facebook is impressed because they think, wow, someone liked that so much, they privately shared it with someone else. Therefore, that might be good content. Maybe I should favor it more in my algorithm and let more people see it. So that's one way. Another one is just a post that's shared by others. So if you make a Facebook post, or your business page makes a Facebook post, and then someone shares that, and then their share gets good engagement, in other words, it gets comments and likes, that's a really good signal, because it shows that even people who don't follow you like that content, and Facebook is more likely to serve your post up to others. Another one is just comments. If you can get comments in Facebook and really pretty much any other social media, you'll get more exposure. And ideally, not just a couple words like thanks or good post, but a few lines of text. It's really, really positive. Facebook wants conversations. And then finally, posts with multiple replies to comments. So if you can have a post that creates conversation, and so people are talking back and forth in the comments, Facebook really loves that because they can tell people are engaged. So I think the bottom line here is with Facebook, instead of making your posts really attention grabbing, try to make them conversation worthy. And this is where having something that's just simply interesting and valuable to your audience is good. Sometimes just adding a question mark at the end, asking a question can engage people in that conversation. And you can't game the system too much. Some people ask us if they can go in and just comment a lot on their own post, or if they can have coworkers do it. And that can help to a degree, but Facebook's pretty smart. And so if the same people are always doing it, it doesn't seem to help quite as much. So those are some insights for you when it comes to Facebook. All right, the next snapping turtle is do not ignore your audience. So this is a picture of my son, Chase, and this is a husky puppy that we have named Knight. And Chase loves Knight. He loves to snuggle him. He's always hanging out with Knight. But when Knight wants to be fed or has to go out, he's not very interested in helping out or helping him. It's like he kind of wants the good stuff without the bad stuff. So do not be like him when it comes to our puppy. When someone comments on your posts, whether it's on Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever it might be, show them you're listening, show them you're active. Go in and reply to it. Now, if they made a post or they made a comment that's really short and sweet, it might be fine just to like it. But if someone takes the time to write like a sentence or more than that, you really owe it to them to go in and comment back and say, hey, thanks for your point of view, or yes, that's great, I appreciate it, or just continue that dialogue. It's kind of like someone calling your business, but then you don't answer. It's really powerful to show people that you care about your audience and that you're listening. So always keep an eye on the comments that you get on your social media. The next unicorn is do show stability by posting regularly. So I talked about this a little bit before, but especially during these crazy times that we're in, people need to be able to hear from your organization, from small businesses. They want to know that you're stable, that you're there, that you're listening. And so especially for our small businesses, make sure that you're posting regularly. Again, do it at least a couple times a week. And if you can, even every day would be great. It's okay to post generally the same content on different platforms. You might want to edit it a little bit to be more appropriate for certain platforms, but post regularly and show people that you're active, you're communicating, you're there. Really important to do so. So here's a few tools you can use if you'd like to schedule this out instead of just going and posting it the day of. On pretty much every social media platform, you can schedule posts. So you can go in and say, hey, post this tomorrow at 5 p.m. or whatever that might be. Hootsuite's a pretty famous one. It works well. Sprout Social, Social Pilot, Buffer are a few more. Most of these have free versions. And if you want to do even more with them, you can pay for it. But consider scheduling your posts and maybe writing a lot of them at the beginning of the month, scheduling them out, and then you don't have to be quite as active every single day yourself. All right, the next don't is do not think social media is free. Don't think social media is free. So my business partner and I, Carrie, we went out, I think it was 2 years ago, and we secretly met our team members' parents. Yes, I know that sounds really weird, but we secretly met our team members' parents. We did so because we were creating a fun end of the year video at our Christmas party that we always have. And so we selected a few parents whose son or daughter we knew wouldn't mind. And we scheduled it. We drove over 500 miles all over Iowa, and we showed up. We knocked on the door. We interviewed them. We asked some great questions about what makes their child tick. Do you have any embarrassing moments about your child? And then we put it together in a video, and we brought it back and showed it to our team, and they did not suspect it. It was awesome. And we did it because we believe that, understanding your team members is just one of the cornerstones of having a really great supportive culture. And it was a great experience. We have a video of this. If you go to the About page on Blue Compass, you can actually see this, which is kind of funny. But we thought this was really great content. It showed our culture really well. And so we decided not just to post it, but to boost it with some budget. Because again, on most social media, when you post, very few of your followers even see it. And so social media is a pay-to-play platform, and you really need to put aside a budget every single month for your social efforts. It's almost not worth doing social media in some cases if you're not putting a little budget behind it. At least $50 per month would be good per platform if you could. So this is an example maybe in Facebook. You've seen this before probably, but where you have that blue button in the lower right-hand corner that gives you the option to boost. So you can click that and you can choose if you're going to target your followers, if you're going to target other people. What's nice about it is you can specify demographics and location and profession and things like that, so you can get the right eyes on your post. So even if you're just putting $5 behind a post, that's great. Usually for our clients, we'll do good posts and then we'll put like $50 behind it, and you can reach thousands of people if you do that. It's really worth your time and effort. You don't need to boost every post, but if you can put some really high quality posts that probably bring people back to your website, it's a good idea to do. So this is one way to do it. You can boost directly from the post. We suggest setting up Facebook Business Manager and doing it there, or Facebook Ads Manager. You have two options. Facebook Ads Manager is tied into your personal profile. We think Business Manager is better, but really either one. And if you go to the URL that I shared earlier, bluecompass.com/social, there's a few resources there to help you through that process. But it's best to do it through Ads Manager or Business Manager in Facebook, because it really enables you to be a lot more specific with your targeting, and it's a lot more comprehensive. And again, you can do this on LinkedIn, you can do this on Instagram, also through Facebook Business Manager, Twitter, you can do this on many platforms. So please consider putting some budget behind your social media. And we can help you with this if you ever have issues or you want to work through a campaign or anything like that. We help a lot of businesses do this. All right, a couple more. Do review your social media analytics. So we worked with an organization who had never really done blogging before. This is a big medical organization. And we came up with some content for them to share. And one of them was called 12 Types of Baby Poop and What They Mean. Yes, we actually proposed doing this article for this big professional organization. And they were a little taken back. They were very hesitant to do this, and that's understandable. They're trying to be a professional organization, and this is a weird topic. But we figured that young parents are probably Googling this topic, especially like late at night when they can't talk to anyone else. We even made this nice little infographic that illustrated the different colors. So we launched this article, and at first, I think this was like 6 or 7 years ago, but at first you can see that it got just about 500 views or so. But over time, it grew and grew and grew until it was bringing them over 1,000 visits a day. And it did that for a very, very long time. And the time on page is really good too. People were spending over 6 minutes on this page. So that was an example of a really good piece of content. And what we did is just continually monitor the stats, both on the webpage and this article, but on social media, to see how it was performing. And when we saw it was performing well, we boosted it again later, and we continued to try to promote this because it was clearly good content. So when you look at the stats on your social media platform, and hopefully on your website too, usually via Google Analytics, it's really powerful because every day your social media and your website is kind of like a focus group of dozens or hundreds or maybe thousands of people. You can learn what your audience likes and what they don't like and how to better cater to them. So this is Facebook. Whoops, I got ahead of myself. So here's some things to measure when it comes to your social media efforts. The best thing you can get from social media, as I said before, is really link clicks. Sending someone back to your website, because your website is where you can really tell your story. You can hopefully entice people to contact you and to reach out to you and learn more about your organization. Also good is messages. If someone direct messages you, that shows that they're probably serious, either about your expertise or your products or services. Reviews are really good to get. Obviously you want good reviews, but whether it's Facebook or Google, this is another thing to measure. Engagement is great too. A lot of businesses and organizations put too much credibility, I think, in engagement. Engagement is like someone liking it, someone sharing, someone commenting. That's really, really great. But that's not the end all be all for social media. You really want someone to take action. And then finally, followers. Followers, especially 10 years ago when social media was kind of taken off, everyone wanted more followers. But getting followers, I mean, it's great, but again, so many of your followers don't even see your posts. It's kind of a vanity metric, and you could easily pay to get more followers. I mean, if you wanted to buy followers, you could. They're good to get, but that's not the ultimate measure of success. So other insights that are handy, again, I'm going to use Facebook as an example, but this is Facebook Insights. So you log into your Facebook and there's an area called Insights. And this is just an example of how active your users are during certain times of the day. Really handy to know for when you're posting. Here's an area where you can see, the average reach your videos, your links, and your photo posts are getting. This can be really informative. This is a look at, this is actually Google Analytics, but you can see where people are most active, where people are visiting your site from. You can drill down and even see specifically like where they're coming from. So this sort of thing can be really handy as well. All right. And last but not least, the last snapping turtle we have is simply don't think social media is enough. Sometimes we'll run into smaller organizations and they feel like, just focusing on social media is what they need to get the word out. And I just want to encourage you, think about your website, think about search engine optimization, think about email newsletters, and even traditional marketing too. We're a digital marketing company. We don't do traditional marketing. So I don't know a lot about traditional marketing, but don't put all your eggs in one basket. Experiment, see what works well for your organization and focus on that. So again, I want to point out the blueprint for a perfect Facebook post. I think this will be handy for you. And if you go to bluecompass.com/social, you can check that out. And I hope that is very valuable to you. And if you have any questions, you want to reach out to me, I'm happy to help. Just let me know. And with that, Sierra, I'll put it back over to you.
Drew, thank you so much for this. I love the do's and don'ts. I love the examples that you provide to really paint the picture for the entrepreneurs who are joining us today. We have a bunch of questions, so let's get into it. One of the first topics was specific platforms to use for your business, knowing where your audience is. A question from Brittany is, what are those specific platforms that you would suggest?
It just depends on your business, your audience, your industry, Brittany. So I don't know if I can perfectly tell you what platforms to be on without knowing your business exactly. But I can tell you that for probably 90% of organizations, Facebook is a good one. I'm not the biggest fan of Facebook. I mean, I don't even like it that much personally, but it is a good way to reach Iowans, it seems, for many different reasons. And it just has a pretty extensive reach, and it has good marketing opportunities. LinkedIn, I'm sure, is one to consider as well. Twitter, honestly, we used to do a lot more Twitter marketing. We don't do as much anymore because we just don't often see the results from Twitter. And there's a lot of clutter on Twitter, and sometimes it gets lost. But that being said, I mean, it might be perfect for your business. It just depends on how you use it. Instagram can be great for a lot of businesses too. Pinterest, I mean, sometimes we'll use Pinterest for businesses. We did Pinterest for an insurance organization. And you would never think that Pinterest would work well for insurance, but we got so many people to their website and we had really great high quality traffic for them. And so I think a lot of it is just experimenting. And, you know, Brittany, if you're not seeing great traction with what you're doing right now, you know, maybe it's time to drop off one of those social platforms and try another. So that'd be my 2 cents on it.
Thank you. All right, so we have a comment from Carrie, or maybe Kari, not sure how you would pronounce that. The comment is, I'd love some tips about staying on brand. I'm unable to outsource my graphic design, so I'm struggling to make everything match.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Carrie or Kari, probably one of the things to do, I don't know if you use Photoshop or InDesign or what graphical program you use, but if you could get some templates started up and maybe identify a few different types of posts. Maybe it's a news post or a culture post and a announcement post or something like that. And let's just say you use Photoshop. If you or someone you know, like a graphic designer, could just create those templates and then maybe you go in and just change the text and swap out the photo. Sometimes that's a really good way to do it. If you could establish a brand guide, even for yourself, again, a graphic designer or an agency or something could do this for you. But if you could create, just some guidelines, like I'm going to use this font, it's always going to be bold. I'm never going to use black and white photos. These are my company colors, like that sort of thing, just kind of as a guideline for yourself. That's probably a good thing to do as well. And I mean, whether you're a small business or really big one, I think just creating those guidelines so you don't feel like you have to start from scratch every time you include an image is a great thing to do.
Excellent. Our next one is from Mary. Mary says, when you say location, we have a bunch of local customers, but really love our online sales from all over the country. How would we change up location to get more views or interactions from customers outside of our local? Do you pick a city, state, or place?
Great question. Okay. So probably what we would do, Mary, is we would first say, okay, we'd really like to target Dallas, Texas. I don't know, some location. I mean, we talk with you to try to figure out maybe where you're getting some good traction outside of Iowa or not locally. And maybe try a campaign or try a post where you'll boost, pay a little money, pay $10, pay $50 and target that area. And then just see how it goes. And if Dallas, Texas does really well for you and you're getting a lot of people back to your site and getting a lot of sales or engagement or whatever, that would be a great experiment. And so we would probably start with a city and target that and see how it goes. And then maybe expand out there to, a state or another city. But a lot of times we'll just select areas around the country that we feel like might be effective and target that versus just targeting the whole entire country, because you'd be amazed how differently people use the web and if people search based on their location. We did some work for a company here in Iowa, and we found that people in Des Moines were searching for very different keywords than people in Iowa City. And that's really close together. So people just act differently based on where they're from. And so try starting with the city.
Perfect. The next one is from Chelsea. Chelsea says, do you have a preference or rule when to boost or a post or create ads on that piece of content?
Sure. Yeah. We usually don't. It depends. But for clients, when we ask them to spend their dollars to boost a post or to do a campaign or something, we want to have a really tangible goal. It's rarely just a feel-good piece to get information out there. It's usually specifically targeted towards a goal. So we might say for Logier, for instance, we might want people to sign up for a spring heating and cooling checkup. And so we're probably going to come up with a content piece that's valuable and useful and encourages people to sign up along the way, but gives away some expertise. And then we're going to do a nice graphic. We're going to link to that from our post. And then we are going to boost that post for, $25, for $100, whatever that might be. So whenever we boost a post, we almost always have a specific action we want the user to take at the end. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we do a fun culture piece like the Meet the Parents thing I said, just because we wanted to expose people to our culture. But usually you need to have an action at the end of it.
Excellent. Our next question is from Holleen. Define high quality type post to boost. So similar to the last question, product related, fee content, etc. So what would be a high quality type of post to boost?
I think I'd go back to what I just said, but most of the time we would boost a post that involves some sort of content marketing. In other words, it's like a blog article, it's a really cool video, but there's still a goal for someone to do. You can totally put a post out there that says, hey, this service that we do is awesome and you should come check it out, and you can boost that. And I think it's worth doing. You can also try an ad to do that on social media and watch and see how well it does. But most of the time we see better results, at least for us, and more traffic when instead of just a hard sell, it's more of a soft sell. In other words, it gives away something and then encourages someone to do that.
Excellent. So Drew, a question that I have that we've been asked is hashtags. Let's talk about it. What do you think about hashtags? What's the best way to use them?
Yeah, I think hashtags are overrated. And that goes for most every social platform, not all of them though. On Facebook, we don't see any value in using hashtags in most every case. On Twitter, I don't see a lot of benefit in using them either. Sometimes they're good in certain circumstances, like if you're trying to jump on the bandwagon of a certain, movement or an event that's going on or something like that. On LinkedIn, occasionally we'll do them. On Instagram, they're the most valuable. And so when you post on Instagram, you should include hashtags, probably 3 hashtags to 10 hashtags. That is a way that people use to find content. So it works pretty well on Instagram. And the other platforms, I would say experiment with it, but generally when we post on the other platforms, we don't use them very often. And I do think it adds a little clutter to posts. So I usually personally don't use them that often, but it's worth experimenting with.
All right, so the last question that I have for you is about the content calendars. I recommend them. I have some people here in the chat who says that they're going to try it out or already have tried them out and and love them. What would you say is one piece of advice to really get started on a content calendar? What is one step to take today?
Yeah, that's a great question. What we do with our clients generally is we will sit down with them and we'll plan out like the next 3 months. And sometimes we even do the next 6 months. It just depends. But it starts kind of high level, just thinking, what are our goals with this? What do we want people to do? And usually it's come back to our website. What are the themes over the next few months? Your business might be seasonal. There might be events coming up that you want to consider. What products or services are you interested in focusing a bit more on? That might be important as well. So if you can think about those big picture things first, and then get a little more specific, you can say, okay, in April, we really need to focus on this product because, it's spring and people are doing X, Y, and Z. And therefore, most of our posts in spring are going to focus on spring cleaning or, whatever that might be. And so just get more specific. And then generally, once you can do that, it gets a little easier to sit down and say, okay, I'm going to write this post right now, and I'm going to put it in this document. And on April 3rd, we're going to post this. So you can just get more specific, but start high level, think about your goals and think about your themes and your events and your seasonality, and then take it from there.
Perfect. Drew, thank you so much for all of this information. I did post your links that you had shared in your PowerPoint into the chat. We'll also remember you'll all be getting an email after this from Ben Schultz with all that information as well. And I do want to give a quick shout out. The Iowa Center has a great lineup of programming coming up starting next month. to help entrepreneurs who are just starting, or maybe they're down the road 2, 3, 4, or even 5 years, and want to experience that growth that they know that they deserve. So go ahead and check out the Iowa Center website for programming, as well as I want to invite all of you to this Friday's Story of event. We are featuring Megan McKay of Peachtree Brewery. So she'll be sharing her story, how she went from corporate world to now a female entrepreneur in Des Moines. Drew, thank you so much. Always a pleasure to have you on here, sharing your expertise, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.